statement?
Yes, sir. It's been posted.
I'm going to read through what we're going to be going through tonight for the approval of the agenda. We'll be approving minutes of the last 3 meetings, correspondence, public forum, if any, special recognitions, facilities and operations, Mr. Martin, finance, Ms. Hutto, curriculum, Ms. Prentice, human resources, Dr. April Sanders, student services, Dr. Nancy Britt Stevens, and athletics, Coach Tyler Sauber. And then we'll have our superintendent's report, and then we'll go in executive session. I have a motion to approve the agenda.
I second that.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, good. All right. I'm sure y'all read the minutes, so we're gonna need to have a motion on each one of them.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the January 16th, 2024 special board meeting minutes. Also, the January 16th, 2024 regular board meeting, and July 30th special board meeting minutes for that. Meeting also.
Any second?
Second.
And motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Question about the July 16th board meeting and the July, the special board meeting and the regular board meeting, I was not here for the meeting. So, I'm gonna be abstaining on those.
Okay. All in favor? Thank you. Any correspondence?
No, sir.
Any public forum?
No, sir.
Good. Right along.
She can do it.
Okay, next up is special recognitions, JROTC and Everyday Heroes.
So we want to get into the habit of recognizing folks in our district who are doing outstanding things. The last month, the last couple of weeks have really been a trying couple of weeks for our community. But going back into June and July, we had first our students doing outstanding work. I believe it was at Fort Jackson up in Columbia for about almost a week. And you know, we see our JROTC doing a lot of great things at sporting events, different programs that we have, but there's a lot more to it, and they put in a lot of time behind the scenes. Great appreciation for the job that Major Logan and Sergeant Simpson do, preparing our students, our young people, to be prepared for whatever the future might bring. But I'm going to have them come up, if Major Logan come up and share some words, Sergeant Simpson, and share some words on what took place this summer. And then we'll go ahead and recognize these young individuals.
So good evening, board and guests and family members. I'm Major Logan, Senior Army Instructor here at Woodland High School, the JROTC program. Myself and Sergeant Simpson have the pleasure of leading these young people to help mold them to make them better. And this summer was truly a test of making them better. JCLC is a leadership camp for young people in the JROTC program. And they were truly tested. They were, I want to say whitewater rafting, but that's not quite the case. So don't have to worry about the liability on that, board members. But they were truly tested in rappelling. They were tested in archery, marksmanship. They were tested in getting up at 5 a.m. and making their beds before they could go eat. Oh, wow. The good Army child, like we like to say. But I must say that these young people are resilient. They made us proud. It was good to see what we planted in them during the school year was actually exhibited and implemented during the summer. And I'm also proud to say that they attended this camp with North Carolina students, where our students here did shine. Yes. Did they show out? They showed out. And so I'm not going to belabor the time, but I want you guys to know that Sergeant Simpson and I truly love these young people. And this is America's future, whether they decide to go in the military or whatever they decide to do with their endeavors. These are some of the best, and we really appreciate the board's support. Sergeant Simpson.
So with that being said, I ain't gonna add too much to what Major Logan has said, but what these guys don't know is tonight when Mr. Beckman and the school board members, along with Major Logan, give them their plaques tonight, they're also getting promoted tonight. And just like you're hearing it, they're also just now hearing it right now, too. So I'm not going to hold this time. I want this to go in happy because this is a joy for the community, for the school board, our school. We love it. So without being said, I'll turn it over to Mr. Beckman.
I'm gonna let you all call their names so I can give them their
All right.
plaque.
I'll ask them to come on up right now.
You can do it.
Okay. All right.
Then I'll hand it to them.
Okay. So the first one will go to Cadet Sergeant First Class, Aaliyah Carson. Come on. You come get it. All right. Cadet Sergeant First Class, Ja'Cory Colonel. Turn around.
Can we get Aaliyah again as well? We gotta shake hands. There we go. All right, let's get Carson on back. Oh, you're done. Thank you.
Cadet Sergeant First Class, Taylor Fogel. Cadet Sergeant First Class, Michael Pinterest. I'm probably saying it wrong. Cadet First Sergeant Adam Truman. This is going to surprise you. Cadet Second Lieutenant Zanier Green. This one else is going to surprise you. Cadet Second Lieutenant Emma Holmes, Amani Holmes. Cadet Captain Jamie McCarthy. And this young lady here was our platoon sergeant and led all of these cadets into training. With that being said, Cadet Captain Mercedes Breland. And she also was honor cadet as well. And last but not least, our superior at JCLC, Cadet Captain Lillian Gray.
Yeah, hold that up. Hold that.
you can hold it.
She didn't hold it up. Lillian, come on Lillian. Get a picture of the whole group. With Major Logan and Sergeant Simpson.
We will
Circle around this way and go around the back.
Let's go around the school board.
All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Just in case you blink. Thank you all very much.
Oh, we can do better than that. Let's give them a big round of applause. Good job, students. Good job. Next up, we're going to honor a few of our adults in the wonderful Dorchester District 4. Dorchester School District 4 is excited to launch the Everyday Hero Employee Recognition Program, designed to shine a light on the often overlooked individuals who play a crucial role in the smooth functioning of our schools. Twice a month, this program will honor staff members who consistently give their best, ensuring that our schools run efficiently and effectively. These dedicated employees may not always be in the spotlight, but their hard work is vital to our success. In the Everyday Hero program, we aim to recognize their invaluable contributions. Each recipient will be presented with a certificate of appreciation and a distinguished coin from Superintendent Beckwith, symbolizing our deep gratitude for their exceptional service and unwavering commitment to excellence. Our first Everyday Hero is Mr. Jeff Dantzler. And even though he's not here at the moment, his son is. So come on up, Brantley. Woo! Jeff Dantzler is a dedicated technology technician in Dorchester School District 4. Mr. Dantzler works tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure all of our educational tech runs smoothly, from smartboards to student Chromebooks. His expertise and commitment keep our tech issues at bay, allowing teachers to teach and students to learn without interruption. Thank you, Mr. Jeff and Brantley, for being our everyday hero in our district. Your hard work and dedication are both deeply appreciated. There are many more DD4 employees like Mr. Dantzler, and we plan to highlight as many as we can during the school year and beyond. But now we're going to highlight a few who are in here today. Mr. Martin, take it away.
Good evening, board, guests. At this time, you've heard me speak of Dorchester County Emergency Management Services over the years and the collaboration we do, the meetings I attend, the exercises that we've held for school safety. So at this time, I'd like to introduce the Director of Emergency Management Services, Mr. Tom McNeil.
Thank you, Board, for having me out tonight. Thank you, everyone who's here. I'm Tom McNeil. I'm the Director of Emergency Management here in Dorchester County. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what just happened, Tropical Storm Debbie. And I like to start all these off by saying they call it a disaster for a reason, because it's a disaster. It's not a bad day. It's not a normal emergency services event that occur all the time. It's a disaster. So, August 4th, if we remember back that far, right? That was the Sunday. That Saturday, I was in my EOC living room watching the weather reports, and I'm on conference calls and talking to people. And then I woke up Sunday morning, like everybody else did, and realized the storm's coming in faster. And this talk about a stall, that the storm was going to stall and it was going to be a lot of rain, made a pit in my stomach. That I've worked a lot of disasters all over the country, big ones. And I had that same pit in my stomach that this might be bad. So I activated the Emergency Operations Center a day early. I was planning to activate it on Monday, that Sunday, and within 2 hours, we were fully staffed in the EOC planning. We were the only county in the state that was at full capacity on Sunday, to include the state. So we start working on preparations. They're talking 15 to 20 inches. And I'm not telling you stuff you don't remember, so I'm just kind of taking you down memory lane here, right? So we open sandbag distribution sites, and we're fighting for sandbags. We're fighting to find sand. It's a Sunday. It's hard to get things rolling. The governor signed an emergency declaration midday, and that's important because that's on Sunday. It's supposed to start raining on Monday, right? So even National Guard can't even be put on orders until the declaration is signed by the governor. So from the time, so that was Sunday afternoon, we finally get the word that he has signed the declaration, and then they're put on orders, and then things start to ramp up at the state. But we've already been going hard for about 6-7 hours at that point, and we're behind. We're not behind. everybody else is trying to play catch up with us. August 5th, we moved to OPCON 1, which means full capacity, full strength of county government and all of our municipal partners, school systems. We've got the conference calls rolling. We've got everything is being built for this moment. County Council issued a state of emergency. They announced the county government would be closing. It took us a considerable amount of time to get shelters open. Why? Because the Red Cross isn't, when we have evacuations for hurricanes, which wasn't called for because it wasn't that type of storm, right? This was going to be a rain event. There's a whole plan for the Red Cross brings in cots on tractor trailers from warehouses in Atlanta, and then the National Guard distributes them to the shelters within the counties. That never happened. The Red Cross never moved them from Atlanta. The National Guard was slow to arrive, but they didn't have cots to distribute anyway. So that evening, as the rain started coming in, the wind started picking up, Dorchester County purchased 200 cots locally. We figured out how we were going to feed people, and we figured out how to staff it using our own staff in the county and DSS staff. We were working closely with your school district to arrange what building can be used as a shelter. And at that point, we're really starting to, worry about the rainfall totals. Like it's getting bad. And that evening is where they forecasted that we were going to look at 18 to 20 inches of rain with 30 inches in localized areas. The National Weather Service was using terms like historic and catastrophic. So as a director of emergency management, I've seen historic, I've seen catastrophic. I know what's coming. I'm very worried. I'm very concerned. That it starts raining hard that night. Everybody remembers, right? We went to bed, we went, ooh, that's a lot of rain, and it's not letting up, is it? If you got any sleep at all, I didn't get much sleep. If you got any sleep at all, you woke up and it was still pouring, right? And the water's starting, the ditches are getting full. Some of those first roads are starting to flood over. We're starting to get concerned. Luckily, we had a little bit of a drought before then, so some of those first inches did get absorbed, and the river levels were low. That helped us. But then, we got swiftwater assets from Alabama coming in. The FEMA sending these teams in. We finally got National Guard. High water resources showed up. So we're ready, right? We're ready for it to start flooding. And then a miracle occurred, and the dry air entered the storm and helped to dry it out and lowered our rainfall totals. It saved us. It literally saved us. And now we were still worried about the rivers and all that kind of stuff. So the next day, it's raining, but it's not raining as bad as it would. The sun even came out a few times, if you remember, right? So at that point, we switched from the concern of a flash flood, and we're more worried about the rivers, right? And we've all been down this road again with the Edisto and the Ashley rivers. We know what's coming, right? And we know it. We don't know how bad it's going to be, but we know it's going to come up, right? And at this point, you folks, the school system has stepped up, right? Because I needed a place to house our swiftwater assets that had come from out of state, and we spoke with Mr. James Martin, and he said, "Done deal, put them here." So it was an amazing thing for us, and I want to highlight something that emergency management's my job. That's my team's job. For everybody else, it's a secondary duty, right? And some people, don't want to play because they're scared of it, whatever reason. But when we called you guys, and Mr. Martin answered, he said, "No problem, we can do that." And then he said, "What else do you need?" And he never stopped saying, "What else do you need?" And that was DD4. That the whole commitment to the mission, to our community, was what else do you need, right? There was never a no. It was always a yes. And it was what else do you need? What more can we do? And it's impressive to me. So we had St. George Middle School was opened as a shelter for citizens. Clay Hill Elementary was used as the sleeping quarters of the swiftwater rescue teams, which they were delighted with. Woodland High School was the staging area and incident command for the Edisto River operations. We actually even instituted for the first time in the history of South Carolina, we did area command between two counties, between ourselves and Colleton County for the river mission. So the rescues that we were anticipating on the river, we were working those together. All of these things are happening, right here in your front yard. Our big command unit was out here for a couple of days. And it's impressive when you think about all those things. Your cafeteria staff fed our people, right? They came in the storm, left their homes. They were working hard for us, right? That's impressive, right? And that will not be forgotten by me forever. So our sheriff's deputies went out along the Edisto River and started knocking on doors. One, informing people of, hey, we're worried about the river, are you? But also to find out their intentions. A lot of folks along the river like to stay. They're comfortable with it, but that helps us to know if things do go bad, we have a rough idea of who's in what homes along the river in case it is necessary to do rescues. So August 8th, the sun came out. It was a lovely evening. I closed the EOC for the night. We'd been sleeping in there. I never left. The National Weather Service predicted a half inch to another inch of rain for the total incident. My flash flooding concerns are gone. I took that picture of that beautiful rainbow outside of the Emergency Operations Center there in Somerville, and I literally said to myself, nice touch, Lord, as I got in my car. I was like, that's the way to close an EOC right there, right? But as we all know, that night, that was Thursday, that night, it rained a little bit, right? So a back-building thunderstorm, which started over Monk's Corner and built behind itself. And if you know anything about a back-building thunderstorm, if there are any science teachers in the room, back me up. A back-building thunderstorm is a thunderstorm over top of a single location, and as it continues to move, another one pops up right behind it, and so on and so forth. So it feels to the people on the ground that the storm is just sitting above them and not moving. And it becomes a river of rain, a train, if you will, of rain. We got 8+ inches between Monk's Corner and St. George, which most of you here probably were like, yep, that was my yard. And it was bad. It was very bad. The rescues that were occurring that night, it was significant. And we also, we didn't have any room where for that water to go. Because though we didn't flood before, we definitely filled every ditch. And the rivers were up, the creeks were up, the swamps were up. And then this was the icing on top that we didn't have room for. And it caused some pretty significant issues everywhere. Nearly 100 roads were closed due to floodwaters. And that floodwater's moving. So some roads quickly started to dry out and others got wet because it moves like a blob, like we all know. We had Alabama search and rescue team came in and relieved the Tennessee folks who left. And we kept them quite busy. August 10th and 11th, those damage reports are coming in. We know some roads are washed out. Some of them, they've been fixing them fast, but some of them are still washed out. We got to do a reconnaissance overflight with the sled helicopter so we could see where's the water. It's hard to understand what's coming into the rivers unless you understand what's in the swamps and what's flowing towards it. And there's no forecasting for the Ashley River. There's limited forecasting for the Edisto. And every 2 or 3 hours, they said, oh, it's going to be at 15 feet. Oh, it's going to be at 16 feet. Oh, it's going to be at 17 feet. And I said, you just tell me, just don't know, right? That was NOAA was telling us that, the National Weather Service was telling us that. It was bad. So it finally crested on Sunday at 3:45 p.m. at 17.21 feet. The record is 17.5, which was 1948. There's no one alive today who can remember what that much water on the Edisto looked like. They might have been alive, but they were a child. So no one remembers what that level of flood was. So this is actually going to be our third worst flooding of the Edisto River in recorded history. We opened a shelter at the Somerville Community Seventh-day Adventist Church to help out. We wanted to try to get the schools emptied out of anybody who was still there so you guys could, figure out when you could actually open as well. A lot was happening. So here's a little hydrology quick lesson. The blue area where we are now, all that blue, whether it's Berkeley County or Orangeburg, Colleton County, all that goes into the Edisto River. The yellow, and as you see, it goes up into Berkeley County, into Monk's Corner. All that water goes into the Ashley. So all the flooding that occurred in Monk's Corner becomes our water eventually. And then the pink down at the bottom all moves into Charleston County before going into the Edisto. But that's, when you think about those river basins, right? The bathtub that fills the rivers. That's why it floods the Edisto. That's why it floods the Ashley rivers. And a quick snapshot of some of the damage that we experienced throughout the county. And flooding, I tell people all the time, water always wins. And floods are tough because they move slow, right? A tornado's quick. Even a hurricane is pretty quick. It's a few hours, it's done. You start rebuilding. But when these tropical storms come in like this and they sit and they rain and you know, they dump a lot of water, you experience some significant flooding. So we are still just now getting to the point where that there were a couple of roads along the Ediso still today that were underwater. So damage assessment teams haven't even gotten to those homes yet. And there's places where the water has just dropped enough that we can look under the bridges. Because even though the water might have cleared from the top of the bridge, we don't know what's holding the bridge up until we can get the water to get down a little bit and make sure, because the volume of water, you know, water digs, right? And that's what a lot of these were. These were culverts, storm drains underneath the road, and it digs around the pipe and it weakens it and it finally collapses. So that's the type of damage we saw everywhere. So some quick by the numbers. The phones never stopped ringing in the Consolidated Dispatch Center. Brand new EOC, brand new Consolidated Dispatch Center, kind of looks like a spaceship. It's pretty cool. But, you know, over 2,090 calls, most of which were somehow or another related to the storm or the flooding. They were cooking in there for sure. And that's not counting the calls that the call center got. We'll show you that. There were over 50 swiftwater rescues. They saved 14 dogs, a cat, and a rabbit as well. And of those 50, even though we brought in those teams from out of state, from Tennessee and from Alabama, all but 2 of those rescues were conducted by Dorchester County Fire Department Swiftwater Rescue. And the teams from out of state that go to disaster after disaster, as part of FEMA teams, said, "You're the best team we've ever worked with, that we came to help, and we don't know why we're here, because you know what you're doing, and you have such great equipment, and you're so highly trained." So that was a very, very proud moment for the Dorchester County Fire Department to be able to say that they're at that level. But we live here, right? We live in the Low Country, so they're experienced. They know what they're doing. They are also becoming a typed team here in the near future, so they'll be able to deploy to help others, which is pretty significant. Feeding. It's expensive to feed an Army. So we started figuring out ways to feed ourselves. There's an industrial kitchen now in the EOC that we had never used, had no feeding plan, had never even coordinated with staff. It was all theory, it was on paper. We were starting to have meetings about how are we gonna do feeding? And then we created feeding. One of our dispatchers, named Charlie Sigmund, feeds dispatch all the time, right? He's the guy who will cook Thanksgiving dinner for the shift. He's that guy, right? So he took over the kitchen. We started providing him with different staff from around the county who said, I can cook or I can clean pots and pans. And Charlie's Place was born. So the level of care and quality of food is a morale booster. When you're dealing with damage and you're dealing with problems, and believe me, the stress level in Emergency Operations Center can be pinging pretty hard. It was wonderful. They fed over 2,000 meals out of that little kitchen there. It seems big until it gets crowded. Salvation Army assisted with 475 meals. Coastal Coffee in Somerville kept coffee in the EOC just rolling. There was a Republican Party event that had to be canceled. They donated food, fed emergency first responders. And that's not counting the food that the school system fed our first responder teams that were from out of state. So that's a lot. And the cost savings, because we were able to do it ourselves, was significant. Cost per head going from like $15 a head per meal to like $6 a head per meal. And when you add up 2,000 meals, that's a lot of cost savings. So even though you're running an emergency and you think, there's no rules, spend money, right? There's still rules. It's taxpayer money. We're trying to be as good as we can with it. Call center, we had 260 posts on social media, 2.1 million people looked at it. Call center answered 1,298 calls. That's 1,298 calls that didn't go to dispatch because they were non-emergency calls, people reporting trees down, roads flooded, that sort of thing. That could come into the call center. And in Dorchester County, a lot of places they'll use out-of-state phone answering systems, or they'll do a recorded line. In Dorchester County, you call, a person answers. It's an employee who's going to answer and try to help work your way through the problems. And they're co-located with the Emergency Operations Center in a room just adjacent, so that if it's a problem, we know about it right away, which is important as well. So we're in recovery phase now. So damage assessment teams are out. The ongoing work with the Public Works to fix roadways, and a lot of the work they're doing now is temporary work. Dump dirt, pave it over, we'll come back later and fix it right. So that's a lot of the work that's occurring. So you'll see some of these places, you'll be like, I thought they fixed that. Well, they're coming back to try to fix it better. There'll also be some mitigation efforts. There'll be money later on for mitigation. The state announced today that it met its FEMA threshold for costs, which is $9.5 million for the state of South Carolina, and they're sitting right now at cost expenses of $17 million just for public assistance, which is public-owned property, government property, so roadways and all that. So we'll be able to get FEMA reimbursement for that. Now we're working on the individual assistance that would assist homeowners, private citizens with their properties. We also have so many partners to thank, and one of the big ones working right now is the South Carolina Baptist Convention, Disaster Relief. They're famous for their disaster work. They're in town now doing assessments on private citizens' properties, and they can help with muck outs and drying out crawl spaces and all that type of work. And they'll bring in folks that are part of their crew from all over the nation to run shifts working once they're done their damage assessments. But we brought in, obviously, the Tennessee, Alabama task forces. We brought in an incident management team from the upstate to assist. And then, you folks, I can't stress enough how important it was that, he just kept saying, what else do you need? And that was impressive to me and important to us, because when you can, as a director of emergency management, when you can turn a problem over to someone else and it will be fixed, and it's not going to come back to me half done, it's not going to come to me broken still, that helps, because you can imagine all the problems we had. To be able to have a partner like we have with DD4 was fantastic, and I can't stress that enough. And I'd be remiss if I didn't point out my small but mighty team. Some of them look like children, because they pretty much are. They're pretty young. The learning curve was steep for them. Most of them is their first big incident. Some of them only been employed in emergency management for about 6 to 8 months. So this was a lot going on in their world. But with the support that we had from all of our partners, out-of-state partners, you folks, we were able to make this disaster not seem like as much of a disaster. And I say all the time, let the disaster be disaster. We shouldn't be the disaster, and we weren't. So it leads me to a good place feeling-wise that should the next one come along, and it will, that we're in a pretty good spot here in Dorchester County to respond appropriately and hopefully recover from much better than a lot of our peers in other parts of the state and the nation. So I thank you for your time, and I'll entertain any questions you might have.
Thanks for your appreciation.
All right, thank you.
And so as a part of that, like Tom said, there's a lot that happens behind the scenes, and it's important that we make sure we recognize those folks within our district who did that work. We had people who spent the night making sure our buildings were running. We had people who were cooking and calling me, because you cannot serve grits and eggs without a meat. So we had to get meat for service. And we had bus drivers making sure they could get to anybody who needed to get from their homes and get to a shelter. And like Tom said, we were all in, going, then had that little break. And then it was all in again. And but we had some folks that spent 24, 36 hours in a school, went home, took a shower, came back another 24 hours. And that's just a job that's done. And oftentimes that happens when we open up our buildings as a shelter. And just about every time we don't recognize those people for doing that work. And so we wanted to make sure we took a moment to recognize everybody who put in a little extra time over the last couple of weeks to make sure our community was safe and in a good place. So when I call your name, if you would come up, that'd be wonderful. Food Services, Miss Nancy Ross.
Make sure you have a meat to serve.
Flip that around.
What's Nancy?
Nancy. Ms. Ross.
What's something else for you?
We have Food Service, Patricia Sanders. Hey, Ms. Ross, you want to stay up here so we can get a picture with the whole group? Yes, ma'am, you know you want to.
We have something else.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, go right next to Ms. Ross. She's aggravating, a little elbow. Food service, Ms. Eddie Sue Hankins. And y'all, it was a nice spread that they put out there for people.
Yes, it was.
One of our bus drivers, Miss Ashley LeBlanc. You got the support group. There it is. There it is.
Okay.
Another bus driver, Mr. Tyreek Simmons. And bus driver, Miss Brenda Littell. Hey, you clap for yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trying to get this microphone.
Yeah, no, I'm moving over.
There you go. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate
And then our operations group, the ones that are spending the nights, y'all, we got some old buildings that make some noises in the middle of the night. Felix Ash. They're still recovering. Jimmy Lowry. And LZ Harrison. And they are not here, but I will tell you, they're the first ones in the district and the last ones out of the district. Saturdays, Sundays, all the time, working. But how about a round of applause for this group here? So, like, you want to get a picture of the group and then we'll all get in there? Y'all watch your step. You want to jump in? Yeah. For the next one? Get in there, sir. Yeah, we'll get the next one. You got to jump in. No worries. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you. One more. One more. All right. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank
Thank you for that presentation. Next up, we have our Facilities and Operations Director, Mr. James Martin.
Good evening again. I'll keep this brief. So several things outside of the storm. We had a lot of projects going on and a lot of rebounding we had to do because of storm. So we're still playing catch up, still trying to complete work orders that we had pre-storm and new issues that have came up. So I'll just highlight a couple of the larger project type things we're working on. We met with Dominion Energy to go over some projects, so we're looking at doing energy rebates and also applying for a state energy office mini grant. And that would be in conjunction with our rebates, so we might can get some projects done at relatively low cost. Owner training still continuing at the new Woodland Middle School. So far, we've had training on the gym scoreboards, kitchen equipment, fire alarm system, emergency generator, and mechanical. We still have several more scheduled for the coming weeks. We're getting closer to the RFID system at the bus lot here at Woodland that would help the drivers, assist them when they come up, and keep our gates more secure on the bus lot. We've also looked at upgrading our bus cameras, and we met with that vendor that we currently have an existing contract with, and we'll have more to come to that in the coming meetings. We had a contract awarded to ABM to fill some of the vacancies we had in our custodial department. You know, the goal was to go into this year having all of our positions fully staffed. We suffered last year with some of our folks aging. We had some illnesses, but we had 9 vacancies, and we could not go into a school year not fully staffed. So that group will be filling those 9 vacancies. We did, on exciting news, we got our brand-new emergency radios delivered by Dorchester County Emergency Services, which were funded by the safety grant that we were awarded last year. And that was 25 radios, I think, to the sum of about $85,000 worth that we got with the grant. So next, we'll be getting our BDAs installed in schools that we don't have, the bi-directional amplifiers, and that will fully give us capabilities for any of our emergency services to communicate, which is huge. We would be ahead of a lot of folks by doing that. There's a lot of schools still that suffer without that technology. If you go through the list, there's summer work updates on projects. Some of those got a little behind because of the storm. And there's also our work order numbers, our dashboard on the final page. Any questions? Well, thank you all so much. Pleasure to be here.
Appreciate it.
As always, thank you.
Next up, our finance director, Ms. Kenny Hutto.
Good evening, Board, Superintendent. First on the item of things to get approved is the resolution for the TAN. We've done this for many years. It's authorizing the issuance of a not exceeding $3 million TAN tax anticipation note. It's the Series 2024 taxable or non-exempt of School District Number 4 of Dorchester County, authorizing the sale of said note to the South Carolina Association of Governmental Organizations pursuant to the terms of its TAN program. So this is to fill the gap between tax collections. It's not very heavy right now in these summer months. December and January is when we really see tax collections coming in. So this is just to fill that gap until we get our tax collections in. And it is an action item.
Yeah, need a motion and a second.
Okay, I make a motion to, approve Series 2024 taxable income.
Okay.
Any questions? Thank you.
You got to vote.
Nope. And vote.
Okay, thank y'all. And the other item is the standard board report, and I'll answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hutto.
Thank you.
Next up, we have curriculum, Ms. Lori Prentice.
We've got Sylvia Wright going to do that tonight.
Sylvia Wright.
Ms. Wright is one of our coordinator of secondary education, does an awesome job for us.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm coming before the board this evening to secure a vote and board approval for our health science instructional materials. You have a paper in your packet with a listing of the courses and selected titles. Yes, yes, please.
One motion to cover all of it?
Yes.
I offer a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administrator that refers to CPA textbook adoption.
Have a second?
I second that.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have, Human Resources, Dr. April Sanders.
Good evening again. So tonight, I'm going to present the second reading of several different policies. So as I state them, I will let you know if we need to make a motion to keep them or to delete them, okay? So first up, we have policy BBBD, board member removal from office. We will need this approved. Policy BGD, BGD-R, board policies, processes, and board review of administrative rules. We will need that approved. Next, we have BG-R, school board policy process. We will need a motion to delete this policy. Policy BGC/BGD, policy revision and review / board policy review of administrative rules. We would need a motion to delete that one as well. Next, we have policy BGF, suspension / repeal of policy. We would need a motion to remove that one as well. And finally, we have policy IKFR, graduation requirements, which we are in compliance with at Woodland High School. However, we will need a motion to approve that one as well. And you can clump them together for one motion to approve and then clump the three together to delete them out.
So this will be for, not for the deletion, or the deletions included in the motion.
So we would need two motions. One motion to approve the first two and last one, and then one motion to delete the three. Because they are in the second set of policies.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve BGBD, BGBGD-R, IKF, IKF-R. That's for approval.
We have a second? Second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to delete or remove BGBG-R, BGC, BGD, and BGF.
Do we have a second? Second. Motion and a second, all in favor, raise your hand. Thank you.
Perfect. All right, our next set of policies will be the first reading. So we have the first reading of policy BCB, board member conflict of interest. If you note that the first two paragraphs discusses services and products, nepotism, and the employment and volunteering being prohibited. Next, we have policy BD and BDR, the organization of the board. And if you flip with me, there are a few things that we will have to discuss and determine. You do not have to make a final decision tonight, however, it should be in discussion. One thing that we have to discuss is how long we plan to allow officers to serve, how many terms, along with the amount of time officers can serve, as well as how we will vote. Right now, we do the voice vote, or will we determine to move forward towards a secret ballot? If so, the superintendent will appoint a member of the district staff to count the secret ballots. So we need to, again, determine when we will allow officers to be sworn in, how long officers will serve, the amount of time they can have consecutive terms, as well as how we will vote moving forward. This is the first reading. Okay? And then the last policy is policy BID, board member compensation and expenses. Please note that board member compensation is governed by your local law. Act 591 states that the members of the board shall receive an annual compensation of $3,600 payable in monthly installments. Per our calculations, current that would equal to $300 per month and not $200 as your current policy states. So we would have to revisit our current policy and allotments. Okay, any questions?
Any questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next up, we have Student Services, Dr. Nancy Gripstein.
Good evening. I stand before you with a request from Woodland High School for Miss Linda Lewis to take her FCCLA team to a Fall Leadership Institute in Orlando, Florida on October the 18th through the 22nd. And the funding will be through our CTE funds.
I might have missed it, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there was a copy in there, under student services.
Okay. Sorry about that. Sorry, that's the only one.
Yes, that's the only one.
Have a motion.
I make the motion to approve this, field trip.
Second? Second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye, or just raise your hand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have athletics, Coach Tyler Sykes.
Hey, how you doing? Good evening. Mr. White, getting y'all some information? No, all that's yours? Yeah. You understand. What you're receiving on the top page is the law. I see we got our attorney here. He can update y'all on that. In March 2014, 2024, the governor signed a bill into effect that you got to get board approval to have Booster Club. Well, that's correct.
You're doing a good job.
Yes, sir. All right, so with that being said, we come to you with, we got athletic Booster Club bylaws and also band Booster Club bylaws. We're asking approval. Upcoming athletic season finna start. Be just transparent. Athletics hasn't like always operated like a Booster Club, but we plan to hand one this year. And temporary, no funds will be dispersed until we get members. Temporary, the principal will be the president, I will be the vice president to initiate the first meeting. No funds will be dispersed, so we can set up officers. The Band Booster Club have already met and elected officers. Also, in this, in the law and the financial report, everyone must have a background check, and the financial officer must have a background check, right?
Correct. You have to have a background check and they can't have certain convictions on their record.
Yes. So the first thing I'm asking for, if would you please grant both athletic and band permission to have a Booster Club set up, which the governor signed on March the 11th, 2024.
You can do them both together, you can do them separate.
I ask you do them both together, nothing separate.
Okay. Got a motion?
No
Go
question.
ahead.
Question. So this will be for 24,
25.
school year?
Yes, sir. And every year, we must come back to you and ask for permission.
Correct. Going forward, obviously, we're a little bit late in the game this year, but going forward, I
Yes.
So, let me make sure I'm understanding this. So money then now will be handled through the school.
Hold on, can you,
Deposited
through the Booster Club?
through Booster Club.
Yes, sir.
Separate of the school.
Separate of the school. Now, as the board is reading the law, y'all can request audit, financial reports, and anything at any point in time, and we must be able to produce, well, not we, they must be able to produce that.
Audit, the school auditors.
You could call for audit of your choice, and the Booster Clubs must pay for the audit. So an example, the board said, Mr. Beckler, Mr. White, Coach Sauber, we want to order both Booster Clubs. What happened then? We said by who? You tell us by who, or finance tell us by who. We get an order, the cost that come with the order, the Booster Club must pay for at any time. And also, they must produce financial records too when you ask for them.
Maybe I'm out of line. Wouldn't that be a requirement yearly? I mean,
Well, the requirements are set by y'all, yes, sir. You can do that, but you can request them monthly if you want to.
I'm talking about the audit.
Yes, sir, if you want to do that.
I'm just saying, that way you.
Yes. If it was me, hypothetically,
As the law reads in terms of the audit, the board would need to vote for an audit to be done. You can ask for their financial records, but in terms of the actual audit, you need to take a vote.
But that's not a part of the bylaw. That's
no,
not written in the-
that's the law.
It's gonna be part of your.
Yeah, it's the law. Yes, sir. So in October, you could ask for the books to be audited. In November, if you wanted, you could ask for them to be audited again. Right? Right.
And typically, there should be some cause if you're asking for it, you're gonna actually also adopt a policy going forward that will put some of these things in writing so you know what the process is.
And then both bylaws do got some stipulations and some financial requirements in them. That could go to the principal, the AD, or superintendent anytime.
We have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve both booster clubs at this time.
Any more questions?
For you vote, I want to be clear on one thing. If we do not do this, you can't operate as a booster club. I just let that be known. So if we come to the games, ain't no hot dogs and fries. I just want to be honest with you.
I think you already got their vote, Council.
Okay, here go ahead. Yes, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
Thank you. Anything else? Anything else? All right. Hey, we want to say thank y'all. The ones that came had a great turnout for the Jamboree. August the 31st, Woodland High School, middle school, we will host the Jamboree here. We met with DD2 today. We're expecting anywhere from 4,000 to 6,000 people for the middle school Jamboree here on August 31st. It starts at 9 a.m. in the morning. Yep. And it's going to end about 11 o'clock. The gates open at 8. So I appreciate y'all. Look forward to seeing y'all there. August 31st. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Next up, we have the superintendent's report from Mr. Jeffrey.
Thank you. So we're going to start, as we know, we brought students back last week, and I want to give our principals just a quick opportunity, nothing more than a minute or 2 minutes, just to talk about how the start of the new school year has gone. We'll go ahead and start with Ms. Mims. Who's the veteran of the group? Kick it off.
Yeah, they just said I was their senior leader, so I don't know how to take that, but anyway. First of all, I do want to thank all of the district personnel, because we saw a lot of them in our school building the first couple of days, with dismissal, arrival, cafeteria. I think some of us had food thrown at us, but I want to thank them because they were really an asset. As of today, we had 534 kids in our building. Our enrollment is actually 576, We have all of our positions filled, which is a total of 86 classified certified staff. And even though we started behind, our beginning of the year activities have been a success because we kind of got together and we looked and we think we had about 75% of our parents, guardians show up for our Meet the Teacher that was held for 3 to 5. You know, there was scuttle back and forth, but they came out and the kids were with them. So we had a lot of people who were there. We started our iReady testing today. Our kindergartners will start later this week, but 1st through 5th started. And then we started our related arts rotation on Monday. And then we are actually already have started implementing our strategies for the OGAP additive training. And so we put that into our math. And our focus areas for this year is going to be OGAP additive and multiplicative frameworks. We're continuing our CKLA core knowledge, I should say our core knowledge and language program. And one of the things we're going to continue is monitoring our attendance for chronic absenteeism and truancy, because we did that a lot last year. And last but not least, we worry about the safety and the well-being of our students and our staff. Any questions? All right, then I'll let you call whoever's next.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I'm at Harleyville Elementary School, and it's been a great start. We're currently sitting at 249, our enrollment when I checked this morning. It's been a very positive experience, and like Ms. Mims had said, the district support from everyone, from food service to transportation to facility, everybody has been phenomenal. Everything we've needed, they've been there, they've been in our buildings, they've been present. So thank you for all of that. We were able to host a house sorting event where we do the Ron Clark House Academy system at our school, which is a system where the students are all sorted into 4 houses and kind of like Harry Potter. And it's just an opportunity to build character, leadership, things like that. And so on Friday, we invited family members into the building. All our new students, our pre-K students, and any new students into the school were sorted into a house. Made it a big event we had lots of family out with that. We made some changes in the building with the middle school leaving our school. We were able to spread out a little more. And what was 6th and 7th grade hallway, middle school, we've now made our 4th and 5th grade hallway for us. And we've kind of shifted some people around. The nurse has relocated, SRO officer relocated, just to kind of make things a little more central, more feasible for us. And yeah, it's been, like I said, very positive experience. The staff's been very excited with all the changes we've made, and I've heard nothing but good things from the community so far. Any questions? Thank you. Thank you.
We got Ms. Lemon at Clay Hill. I didn't want to not recognize.
It would have been okay. Our current enrollment at Clay Hill is 165 students. We are growing because of where we are located, but our staff has been great. Our class sizes are a little big, but everybody's pitching in, and when they have a free planning period and stuff like that, they go in and help each other. Despite the delay, everything's running smoothly. Our school theme this year is Unlock Your Potential, and that's for students and staff, just pushing everybody to their limits and thinking outside the box and trying things that you never tried before and just really focusing on growth. Our mantra is positive vibes only. So even when we're having a tough day, you're smiling, we find the good in everything. On the first day of school, we had a hydration station for our students and our staff. All the students got a water bottle to stay hydrated throughout the day. We are also revamping our staff lounge. We're going to have a permanent hydration station there for our staff, as well as a coffee bar. So we're going to keep them hydrated and caffeinated. We are reestablishing the PTA. We have a large group of parents who are coming in and starting to do little projects throughout the building. We're building our STEM program. Ms. Jennings just got access to Sam's lab, and she's launching Project Lead the Way. We are continuing the house system, but we decided that we're going to switch over to the Ron Clark this year, simply because there are a lot of resources there, and we want to partner with Harleyville to have some friendly competition. we are going to start, we have started already, so we're looking forward to getting that data to build on student strengths and really look at closing the gaps. So we want to thank Mr. Beckwith, the board, all of the directors, because I know I've called them a million times just to get everything straight, our stakeholders, and we invite you to visit the Hill anytime you want to.
Mr. Kennedy, come on.
I do have a lot, but I don't want to make anybody jealous at all the great things happening at Woodland Middle School. For our 462 students, we do have some moving in pains. We didn't get moved in as early as we'd have liked to, but we're making the best of it. We've had a great few days. To my knowledge, we've not had a car jam on 78 yet. That's like a bonus right there. That was probably my biggest fear. The parents are doing an awesome job dropping kids off, picking them up. Kids are loving the new building. Again, we do have some growing pains. We're working through them. I probably spend half of my day with contractors going throughout the building and fixing some small things, but they're not stopping the educational process. That's probably the most important part. I definitely want to thank our PTSO. We've changed the PTSO this year. Our parents are super supportive. We had a meeting before this meeting, so we're looking for great things out of them. I would not trade my staff with any other staff that I've worked with in my 30 years. A fabulous group of people that know what the task is, and they know what to do, and they know how to do it. So my leadership team, second to none. I won't talk about class size, Ms. Lemon, but it's pretty good right now. Thank you for the extra personnel this year, so it's going really well. Good.
I want to see who's going to run up there. Bush, Odyssey.
I'll let the host close it out. Good evening, Board. Superintendent Beckwith. In brief, our year has started off very smooth. I'm gonna knock on wood if I had a piece up here, but it's been really good. Our enrollment is up 150% from where we were last year at this time, and I attribute that to, it sounds like a large number, it's not that many people. But I attribute that to the confidence and the service that we provide kids. I too want to thank the district support that we've gotten. It's been tremendous. And our year's motto is always going to be pride. That means it's a personal responsibility in the delivery of an education, and that's what we do. We try to continuously improve the way that we serve students, the whole child. But it's been good, and I expect it to continue. We'll keep working hard to serve students. And as you know, we have celebrated an excellent graduation rate for quite some time, and I'm very proud of that. But I feel like our program is an integral cog to that process. So I'm hoping that we can continue to support the district in that facet, continue to support students, and I'm thankful that you guys continue to support us. All right, thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. White at Woodland.
Good evening, Board, Superintendent Beckwith, and community, and everyone else. I do also want to just say thank you for all the support, the faces that came on the first day, and just everything you all have provided us in terms of resources. We're sitting at about 603 students. That is our current count, and we know that more are going to come right after Labor Day. We're excited about looking at our EOCs, so that's one of the first things I'm going to jump into, which is just the tests that we have, and we have an opportunity to do some great things there. We have some partnerships that we're considering, and the district is being really helpful through that process as well. The cell phone policy, guess what? They're actually doing much better than you all thought they would. They're complying. I think that speaks to the community and who you all have raised, so let's give them a round of applause. Whether they like it, they're doing it, and so I appreciate that. We're looking at something called On Track because it's something that the state is rating us. So graduation rate used to be the only way they measure us. Now they measure us by how many scholars in the 9th and 10th grade this year and 12th grade are on track. And then next year it'll be all 4 years, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So what they've done is diluted the graduation rate a little bit and now say you can't just figure out how to get them out in 4 years. You got to consistently keep everyone moving forward. But we have an answer to that as well. And last but not least, you probably heard some of your scholars saying that they have started a new program called CREW, and that is something that Lucy Beckham, River Bluff is actually who became famous for it. And it's just this idea, this concept that we are crew, we aren't passengers, which means that we can't just go along for the ride. We must help move the organization forward so everyone has a purpose, everyone has something to do. And so sometimes they go to CREW and they'll talk about how much they dislike the cell phone policy. And then the teachers will come and ask me, hey, are you willing to bend a little bit? Then I tell them no. And then they go back and tell them yes, but it allows them to get their feelings out. And so we're really excited to see what happens with CREW, and then we're going to continue doing Jostens Renaissance. And we're just really excited about yet another opportunity to engage in productive struggle.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all. Our leaders, our school leaders really done an outstanding job with how everything started off the year. It really hit the ground running, and you would never know. A tropical storm came through and threw off our plans a little bit, but they've really done a great job. And thank you to the district folks for being at all the schools and helping out. And I was at the high school today for a little while, and I stood at the hallway by the cafeteria, and not a single kid in the hallway. And if you've ever worked as an administrator in a high school, that is a dream come true. And I did car riders the other morning with Bladger at Woodland Middle School, and I told him it's a little surreal because it was too quiet, knock on wood. But your buses were coming in, staggered, and the kids were great. The car riders, it was just great. And those were the two schools sitting on 78, kind of wondering what that traffic was going to be like. And then the elementary schools from day one have really kind of hit the ground running. When I've gone into any of the elementary schools, kids are in class and I see the teachers teaching. Well, it appears to be teaching. I'm not going into class, but they're at least moving around and talking to kids, and that's a win. And so when you look back at what the last 2 weeks was like, you would never know we went through that last 2 weeks. We still have some folks that are struggling. They had to be removed from their homes, and we look forward to getting them back. And there's just a lot of things that we sometimes forget. But even with all that, just a pretty smooth start, all things considered. So our transportation department, food services, there's so many little obstacles that take place. And just like Tom was saying, with behind the scenes things take place, it's no different in the school. So much happens behind the scenes. So thank you to everybody for the job well done. Board, what you have after next is facility usage form. That is just for your information. We're going to do some research between now and the next board meeting and bring a proposal to you with some increased prices. If you look at the prices for the use of our facilities, they're pretty low. And just to give you an idea, the football field, which is a beautiful football field, one of the first turf fields, lower part of the state of South Carolina, for a day costs $50 to use that field. And that's kind of the going rate for every one of our athletic facilities. And then just using the school classrooms, those types of things, it's not much more. So we just want to look at it, and if that's where everybody else is, and that's where everybody else is, and we'll stick with it, but we just want to make sure taking care of our stuff here and being proactive. So I'll have more for you on that. At the next board meeting, I wanted you all to see the form that we have so you can just be aware of that. Security, when you have a certain price range, sometimes you get, it's just, people don't consider the property like they should because they don't realize it's the district's property and our students' property. We just want to make sure we're being mindful of that, and after we research neighboring districts, if that's where people stand, that's where people stand. But I want to look at it and have some updated. Those numbers have been around for a pretty good while here. I just want to acknowledge Stronger Connections grant. That was filled out by Monica Tutter. She did it at the beginning of the summer, end of the school year, I think. and we were hoping to hear something by the end of July, pushed into August just a little bit. And so we're just getting this information, but she did receive it. It is for $310,000. And really a big focus on it, and it's going to be across multiple departments. And that work will start moving forward, but it has a lot to do with social emotional learning and really supporting the social emotional needs of our students. And there's a lot to it, and that's very broad and basic. And it ties in a number of different things, alcohol and drug awareness programs and classes, and different behavioral supports that we can provide schools just to be more proactive. It does incorporate, she slid in there, e-gaming. So we will be able to start putting an e-gaming room together at Woodland Middle School and an e-gaming room at Woodland High School. And so there'll be about $100,000 that was allocated in that grant for those two rooms. So we're really excited about that. We'll be able to get that up and running hopefully second half of the year, probably a little more realistic. But thank you, Ms. Tutter, great job getting that. And we'll continue to update you all on any grants. We have a couple sitting out there. We're still waiting on the State Department to give us information on that capital projects grant. We haven't heard anything other than there's an announcement that's going to be made. That was 2 weeks ago, right? So we're still waiting. My understanding, some of that money's been pushed out to some other districts, but we have not heard a thing yet. So we'll see where we fall with that. Board policy update. That is this packet of papers, what I did for y'all. We keep talking about trying to get these policies up to date. And we changed from going to 3 readings to 2 readings so we could go a little faster. And I talked to Ms. Hughes about this and about the possibility of having additional meetings. Because as you go through this packet, what you'll see is we are about halfway through the B's. Most of the state is back there at the I's. And so as you go through this packet, you'll see that the majority of our policies, and if anybody ever reviews our policies online, still come from the year 2000. I don't know about anybody else, but I feel like education's changed a good bit since 2000. And we might just stick with the same policy, but we need to make sure we're updating our policies and we're as current as possible. And this was just a way of putting it in front of you in a really clear way, so you can see what kind of ground we need to do to make up with some lost time. Updated school calendar. This is an action item for you all. This was, we had to have a quick turnaround on this. Now, what happened was we never started school, so we couldn't go to an e-learning day, something that Colleton did. They came in for a half day, and then they started doing e-learning days, so their calendar didn't get thrown off a whole lot. Dorchester, too, was in the same position as us. Berkeley pushed back a day. But what it requires us to do is just go back and update our calendar to accommodate the lost instructional days, which was 4, and make sure we're not putting our teachers over their 190-day contract. When you go through it all, and we've looked at it, and we were going to share it out, we had different ideas, there really is not much flexibility with it because of how the days are staggered out there. We wanted to be right for teachers and staff and our district employees, and one of the big pushes was fall break, and I know a lot of people already scheduled fall break vacations, as they should. That was the purpose of it. So we wanted to try to protect that. And the problem is, if you bring students back over fall break, that means you're adding days on the teacher contract. So you can't add on to teacher contracts, so that meant you can't bring students back. And so that's kind of where we ran into that 11th, that was before fall break, was a work day. October 11th, it was a work day. We turned it into an e-learning day. So students will still be home. That's no change for parents. So we aren't now saying, it's not a surprise, you're going to have students that day. But that will be an e-learning day, so we can count it as an instructional day for our students. And then our teachers will be in the building, fielding any necessary calls from students that day. But it's usually a lot less than if it was an in-person day. The other one that was a big one that we went back and forth with, we didn't really go back and forth a whole lot because you can't really, there wasn't a second option. We generally had that work day after Christmas break or after winter break. So January 6th was that work day, and then the first day back for students was January 7th. So we've had to change it to where the first day for students is gonna be that January 6th. That takes away the teacher's work day. It is far from ideal, and I know that's a big day for teachers to get themselves and just transition back into the new year. There just wasn't a whole lot of flexibility with that. And then June 2nd was a work day at the very end of the year. We just turned it into a half day for students, and that'll give them. And so when we added these days, it gives us back to 4 instructional days. You know, we had to race and get this to you all tonight because for power school reasons and attendance, we had to get it into the system. And we just have to make sure we're able to start moving forward with inputting data. Any questions about that?
March 21st.
Yeah, so March 21st, that was a work day. Before spring break, that's gonna be a regular day with students that day. What ended up happening is we pretty much front-loaded all of our work days and professional development days at the beginning of the year with people being home. And so we're having to absorb some of those work days later on in the year to just balance everything out. But I know the big one in here, we kept April 21st as a work day for teachers and staff because going from spring break to Memorial Day without a break, there are no spring months is a rough stretch. And we want to make sure our teachers can catch their breath. Really, everybody can catch their breath because that's just a wide open time right before testing and just giving everybody kind of a chance to regroup. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Beckwith. We have a motion to approve the school calendar.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the school calendar as set forth now.
Second. Any questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous.
All right, then the last thing we have is we need to recognize somebody on the board for their years of service, and that is Miss Evelyn Infinger. So, Ms. Infinger, if you'll come on out here, out in front. And so, Ms. Infinger is being recognized for reaching level 2 as a South Carolina School Board member. And we'd like to congratulate you.
Thank you.
You got to hold it. Congratulations. Here you go.
That's mine too.
Careful, point. That's going to the wall.
Okay.
That you can wear to every board meeting. That's it for me today.
Thank y'all. This ends our open session. We're getting ready to go into executive session, personnel report. So thanks for coming. If you want to stick around, stick around.
Need a motion.
Thank y'all for coming.
You got to do a motion. You got to do a motion. Mr. Beckwith. Yeah.
Make a motion to go into Chairman, I move to go into executive session. Second. Moving second.